eye-catching, very appealing, especially to our youngsters. Congratulations on the publishing of these 2 books.
Thank you so much, and I must say from the beginning, it is a team effort, because if you flick the book, you will see acknowledgement, and you can see it is still there with educators. You have like Mrs. Marjorie Gaynor, who was a former education officer. You have Mrs. Olive Forrester, former education officer. We have Professor Never Ying, who has been very supportive of my efforts, and Professor Mark, I think he's Dr. Mark Richards, from the UK diaspora here, and many others also. So it's a team effort. So thank you so much, and I will transfer that to them as well. And indeed, it's really 2 eye-catching publications targeting children and the whole family, for that matter.
Absolutely. I can imagine the first one. I'm looking at my health and wellness package. I think any member of the family can use that, as well as community helpers. Of course, the timely reminders are so important in relation to the various members and persons that we serve and who serve us as well in our society. But I just want to start off, Dr. Ramocan, what made you realize there was a need to create these books?
Well, I will go on to answer that question, Jesse, but before that, I must say it's my first time live on both sides of this story.
Yes.
And I just want listeners to know that I do listen to this program from time to time.
Yes.
And I invite others in the diaspora to do so, because I find it very informative. And you did not ask me to say this. The information can save listeners time, money, and help them to get the facts and figures to make decisions on matters such like getting land title, renting properties, and do's and don'ts. It is a pleasure to be on your program, and I hope listeners will hear both sides of the story this evening.
Wow, thank you so much for that. We really do appreciate the listenership, and of course we're sending our heartiest thanks with you to, of course, the diaspora in London, in the United Kingdom. Here it is that we want them to know a bit more about these books. So please, Dr. Ramocan, just let us know what made you realize I need to create these books.
Yes, so I will address that. Jesse, it was during the mid-1990s. I'm in London now, but I was in Jamaica.
Yes.
I'm here just 5 years.
Yes.
There was a national outcry in Jamaica in the 1990s relating to significant deterioration in social cohesion. This was expressed through high levels of crime among youth and other socioeconomic crises, which has been well documented in the media.
Yes.
But I thought, rather than feeling overwhelmed by the crisis, being a curriculum specialist, I was motivated to embrace the calling to develop media that would support parents and teachers in promoting respect in children for community helpers. But at a deeper level,
yes,
I was in profound mourning due to the chronically low profile of community helpers, which was a sharp contrast to their profile when I was growing up in my community. For example, the police was seen as the person that a child goes to get help to cross the road.
yes,
And the police would gladly do this. Parents would not be deterred. When it comes to the teacher was revered. I can't just say respected, revered. We would not walk too close behind our teachers.
That's correct.
We would run past them. And I must tell your listeners that we would do this per adventure. They felt that we were listening into their conversation and to feed gossip. So these were 2 community helpers
And I went right back to high school, my days at Calabar High. When a teacher or an adult would even enter the classroom, everyone would stand, yeah, as a sign of respect. And you are so right in relation to how respect for our community leaders has fallen. And here is where we begin to turn the tide, Dr. Ramocan, in terms of empowering our youngsters with the information that they can use to create a better outcome. Yes, in terms of relations, interpersonal relationships with not only their peers, but also these community helpers and leaders who, without them, we would be in such a worse place than where we are now.
Exactly. And I must say, being on the tour of duty with my husband,
yes,
I came face to face with what we would refer to, what he would refer to in his many speeches, what it means to be a Jamaican. Because we noticed that being Jamaican was not being equated to what we know. Being a Jamaican is having high level of discipline, being a strong leader, being hardworking and resilient, showing love and respect for country and people of diverse culture. Hence our motto, out of many one people. And not being abusive and selfish or unkind. So these were some of the thoughts driving my thinking to develop this book so that our children could have hands-on use of the book as well as in community groups, as it were.
Absolutely. And here it is that you also have the publication, My Health and Wellness Package 10 Good Habits for My Health. What inspired you to write this one, Dr. Ramocan?
Well, I am telling you, this is very profound because I used to take my children just about everywhere I go.
Yes.
But along with them, I would have storybooks, coloring books, or anything that I could give them to read. So if I were at the dentist with them, they were coloring or they were reading, coming to mommy and said, "Could you spell this word, what it is?" And they were usefully engaged. And then I noticed there were other children with their parents, and sometimes they were beating them to keep quiet, or running them down. They are going in the office and all that. And I said, this needs some help, as it were. And therefore, I thought I would develop some cards, not books, because sometimes those are not appropriate in carrying, like if the child is in the car or going to an office. But I thought I would develop a package with 10 cards. And the parent or adult could decide with the child, which card would you like to take with me today? I'm going to the doctor's office. Yes. And the child would take just one card. And the child would be occupied, as it were, for the time. And I've noticed that you do not see the children running as wild as that.
Yes.
So while I was at home during the coronavirus onset, and sometimes good things come out in this way, I decided that I would come up with these cards, and there are 10 cards, and I'm going to tell you quickly what the cards are.
Oh, Dr. Ramocan, we have break. One second, we have to take a break, and we do have time. No worries, we're going to go through it, and we want to let listeners know a bit more about the nature and availability of these publications. So just going to ask you to hold the line for this time signal. When we come back, we'll continue. 18 minutes. This is your program, Both Sides of the Story, here on Power 106 FM. My name is Jesse Blake, and you're going to be hearing from Dervan Malcolm, the host of this program, in just a minute. Now, we're learning about two lovely publications authored by Dr. Lola Ramocan. Here it is, that lovely author and, of course, wife to Jamaica's High Commissioner in the UK, the Honorable Seth George Ramocan. Dr. Lola Ramocan has written two lovely publications, and we're hearing about them right now. Really looking forward to hearing about those 10 cards that comprise the publication, My Health and Wellness Package, 10 Good Habits for My Health. Dr. Ramakan, welcome back.
Thank you so much, Jesse. And already I am hearing Durban.
Okay. Oh dear.
Don't let him hear that.
Well, I hope he hasn't. Well, I get it all the time. No worries. I hear that all the time. Can I tell you, Doc? Yeah, I get it all the time. I understand, yeah.
You understand.
I do. It is not a bad thing, you know.
It's not a bad thing. I will tell him that. So there are 10 cards to the pack.
Yes.
We have, and they can be used in any order.
Yes.
Any sequence. You have card 1, washing my hands. Of course, that is so topical.
Oh,
yes.
You know,
how to wash hands and how to wash hands properly. Because some persons believe you just pour water in a basin and wash hands.
Yes.
The hand has to be washed either with water pouring on your hand, or it is on the top, and you work up a sod with some soap, and then to have your hands washed. Some person said you can sing the birthday song twice, and that will give you enough time to wash your hands.
Very important.
The card is there, and the child can also color the card. And I do this intentionally. I do not color for children. I like children to choose their colors.
Yes.
And therefore they're able to discriminate. I can discuss. Why did you use that color? And he might say, well, it is a leaf, and therefore I believe the leaf could be green. And I said, only green a leaf could be? And he said, no, it could be brown. And you get some discussion going.
Yes.
So the card is to spur discussion.
Good.
Then you have brushing my teeth. And you have sleeping and waking on time. That is a big issue. Because, of course, children like to watch TV and with tablets and all that. Some of them, they are so tricky. They put it underneath the blanket.
The pillow.
Under the pillow. And they're using it. So it can stir a lot of discussion. And you have eating proper food. That's a big one. Because proper food don't really taste so nice, you know?
Yes.
But they have to learn. That's another way to discriminate. You have all of this, but what do you choose? You know, do you choose the apple against the pie or something like that? Lots of discussion.
And that's very important too. Very important in terms of nutrition, health, and wellness.
Exactly. And then we have love to drink water. I don't know about you, Jesse, but sometimes you wonder whether children drink water because they like the sweet drink.
Yes, which is right. That is so true, Doc. Very true.
But water is very important, and from early, if you start getting them to drink water, I have proven it. When you ask them, what would you like to drink? Might say a glass of water. I have tried it, and I have seen it work. And you have, I love to bathe. That is a big one. Because I have grandchildren, and I know sometimes I have to be running them right through the house to find them, to bathe them, and hide behind the door. They're playing, but they won't know that you do not have all that time to play to get them in that bath.
Yes.
So they have to start early and love to bathe, love to exercise. Social distancing. We spoke about children staying away from their teachers for adventures in listening. It's social distancing.
That's true.
So we are accustomed to social distancing growing up. My parents would say, keep your distance when you're speaking to me. Keep your distance when you're speaking to grandma. So these are things coming back at us now. We are talking about social distancing, but it is not just because of the virus.
Yes.
That's something that as children, adults, we should practice that you would not imagine that this goes for life. So that even when a child grows up and you have social friends, intimate friends, your parents, siblings, and you say something, your word should mean something.
That's right.
Your word should be your bond. So from this age, it is good for children to know that they need to pledge, they need to sign their name or commit themselves to this pledge or whatever it is. If you're going to change, you have to discuss. You have to talk about it.
Yes.
So from now, the child can color this card, have the card read to him or her, or read it to mommy, daddy, sibling, color it, and put it on the back of your door or someplace in the house. So as you go around day to day, you see this. And you know, when I was growing up, there was 4-H club. Do we still have those?
Oh, yes. Yeah, very, very vibrant Jamaica 4-H clubs. Absolutely.
Right. So the 4-H club used to put a lot of emphasis on pledge. You pledge your heart.
Yes.
You pledge your hands for greater service.
That's right.
You know, and these are things that we really need to get our children akin to.
That's right.
So these are the 10 cards, but there are a lot of things to discuss on these cards. Can you imagine just taking one of these cards with your child and you are just talking with your child about that card?
A lot of discussion can take place, and you know, I really want to salute you and your team for making such an innovative educational tool for our children. You talk about, for example, 0 to 6 years old. What the sociologist will tell you about is the age of primary socialization, where the building blocks, the foundational building blocks of a person is developed in terms of their value structure, habits, things like that. I mean, it is so beneficial for those children in that primary socialization stage. These are all wholesome values, Dr. Ramocan. And, you know, I want to just ask you in terms of its availability and adaptability. Is it adaptable to all the diaspora regions, for example?
I must say to you, it is. And why I say this, the focus, as you mentioned, that you have from 0.
Yes.
0, some people say, why do you say the materials can be used with 0 to whatever? We have 0 to 8 for these materials.
Okay.
Because the philosophy is that the child, the fetus learn. The child is learning from the womb.
That's right.
And therefore, the mother-to-be can be reading these materials over time.
That's
you know,
right.
and therefore it is being used as a developmental tool for the child. And by way of adaptation in the diaspora, if you go through the book, you will see that from the cover, it can be adaptable. It is said, do not judge a book by the cover. But this book, you can start judging this book from the cover, because you have not just the topic or the title, but you have samples of community helpers on the book. You have the policeman, you have the nurse, you have you have the postman, you have the fireman, you have the pastor, you have the teacher, and you have the medical doctor.
Yes.
And these are just samples of community helpers. But do we have these in every community, every society in the world? We do.
Yes, we do.
And therefore, it can be adaptable. Even the uniform may look different. This is where you engage the child.
Mm-hmm.
These community helpers on the cover are examples of community helpers from Jamaica.
Yes.
But what about the community helpers from UK, Canada, USA? Let's talk about them. And isn't this a way to show diversity, where the policeman in Jamaica looks like this. But what about the policeman in the USA?
Yes.
What about the policeman in other communities? And therefore, they can collect these community helpers and have a collage. And it shows diversity. We are different, but you know what? We are the same in many ways. If you have the book and you can look at the medical doctor on this cover is a female. Do you know what happened, Jesse? In most communities,
yes,
this medical doctor that our children see are male. And I'm not saying anything bad about that. But I have visited like a basic school in the community. And I would say, all those who would like to become medical doctors, could you stand? And I would see some boys stand and not even a girl. And I would walk up to the two girls and said, would you like to become a medical doctor? He said, no, Mrs. Boys become medical doctor. And I would say, no, you can be anything that you want to be. And this should be said to any child, regardless of the diaspora that the child is in.
Absolutely.
And also to ask these young children from very early in life the very important question, Jesse. What would you like to be when you grow up?
Yes.
And some people say, no, they're too young. But it is okay, they will change. They can change 1, 2, 3, whatever time. But I can guarantee you, Jesse, that if after the child talks about this,
yes,
I would like to be a policeman. I would like to be a plumber, because I do not have all the community helpers depicted, because there is avenue for the teacher or parent to ask the children about other community helpers, especially that we have the advent of STEM.
Absolutely.
With STEM, which is science, technology,
engineering and mathematics.
Engineering and mathematics. There are a realm of new profession, careers. So that can be discussed, because, as I said, the child should feel that he or she can be anything that he wants to be. And it is our duty as adults, as parents, as community helpers to mentor the child along the way. And there are different ways to mentor, by taking the child to see somebody that the child would like to be, whether you could dress the child up if it is a uniform, in the case of, say, the nurse or the medical doctor, dress the child.
That's
in
right.
the outfit.
Yeah.
That identified with community helper.
That's right.
Invite these community helpers, whether to your home or maybe they're in the family.
Yeah, and a number of them are willing mentors as well, Dr. Ramocan, and it's a very important task. We have a couple of minutes left in this interview. I would love to just find out two things. I heard you had a lovely launch of these publications, and you had transformation as your key message. In about a minute or so, why was it so important to have transformation as your key message?
Well, let me share with you, and I would say it is the author's thinking, that globally I have seen that there is a shift, as it were, of the moral compass.
Yes.
So that you have half-truths and you have twisted arguments, and children are so confused, as it were, that they do not even know what is right and wrong.
Yes.
So the moral compass has shifted, and I thought globally there is a high level of indiscipline and crime in the society, and it is important to pursue a process of transformation beginning with our children.
Very important.
And I'm going to say something that is kind of radical by way of transformation. As educators, we know about the hidden curriculum. And the hidden curriculum are areas of soft skills.
Yeah.
We do try to teach our children, but we don't plan for it. It is called incidental learning, like the teaching of trust, to be trustworthy,
Yes.
to be honest, as it were, to be kind, to be cooperative, to be quiet, speaking softly, willing to listen, willing to take correction with a good heart, as it were, willing to listen to others' opinion, knowing that we are different and different persons will have different opinions. And I believe even at this time, our teachers should plan more for the hidden curriculum. And this hidden curriculum should become more apparent because these are the skills that the children need for life.
Absolutely.
I must tell you, Jesse, that I have met some very, what you would call, bright, intellectual persons.
Yes.
But their manners, the way they carry themselves, the things that they say would cause me to move away from them. They are abusive, and all this is tied up to in the domestic violence that we do have. So I would want to say,
yes,
in our education system, I'm not saying that you must overturn the table because the maths is important, the science is important, and all the others. But with having all of those, and without having these soft skills, the child is made lesser for that. With society, we cannot build a kind of society if we do not focus on these soft skills.
Your
And
publications do go a long way in terms of helping our children to understand these very important soft skills. We were running out of time, Dr. Ramocan. I just want to leave our listeners with information now on how they can get these publications from.
Well, the publication, I would love to be in the hands of children. I do not want them to be on shelves, as it were. And therefore, the book is available direct from the author for bulk purchase, like for school, churches, non-profit organizations. And the number is 07467159 But you can also get the book right there in Jamaica from stationery and school supplies. The person is Miss Green, and the number is 876-754-9006. Or they can text via WhatsApp 876-806-1732, or go on the website www.sseducation.com. And Jesse, I am available for you to have a rap session online. Well, when in person is possible. Right now, I am not really visiting face to face,
Yes.
but I do lovely Zoom session just 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Mr. Woody Page will tell you that we had a lovely session with teachers and children from 3 schools in Jamaica: Augusttown Primary, Padmore Primary, and a school, Springfield Primary in St. Thomas. And Jesse,
Yes.
the beauty about this, all those children told us what they would like to be when they grow up. It was like music to our ears. And even if we have to do a tracking,
Yes.
we are going to follow up these students. We're going to give them the support because after they would have said this, wouldn't you think it's coming from their heart, Jesse?
Absolutely. Of course. And you know what I like as well is that you're so heavily invested in these positive outcomes for our youth, especially those who may come from, and it doesn't matter what socioeconomic background you may have, you are here for everyone, and you are offering your mentorship and development services for free, Dr. Ramocan. That is quite commendable of you.
Oh, that's the least I can do.
I tell you, we're out of time, unfortunately. Any last words? We're out of time, but we have to run quickly from you.
Yes. There's a last word. The emphasis on soft skills, but we need to collaborate to get the job done.
Yes.
And we can do it. And we need to look at the diaspora representative as having a part to play, community leaders, helpers, teachers, pastors, they have a part to play. The parents have a part to play. Siblings have a part to play. And children have a part to play. So let's do all we can to build a kinder and healthier community.
Wow, thank you so much for joining us on both sides of the story. Durban is listening and he says thank you for that discourse today. And please keep up the good work, and we will do our best to share the numbers for those who want the bulk purchases of the book, and for those who want purchases in Jamaica through stationery and school supplies. We will share this information as we go along. Thank you so much, Dr. Ramocan. All the very best to you and the team over in London.
Jay, thank you so much, and the same to you for your program, and I will keep listening to your program.
Thank you so much. All the very best. Have a wonderful evening. Take care.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye now. Wow.